This is Dr. Tom Coburn. I'm a 71-year-old retired physician who spent my first years as a businessman, taking a company and building it and selling it, and going to med school as an older student. In my early 50s, I got interested in what was happening in our country and decided to run for Congress. I actually served 10 years in the United States Senate. And I actually left 2 years before my term was up, because I've come to the conclusion that we will not fix the significant large problems of our country through Congress. They don't have the courage to do it. They won't address the difficult problems because it's always seen in light of how it will affect my next election. And quite frankly, the vast majority, not all, but the vast majority of people who go to Washington want to stay there. They like the elevated position. They like the power strokes that they get from their constituency. And so what you see in Washington is people who routinely work to make sure that they secure their next election. And I see it completely different. You should work so you can secure the next generation and do what's in the best long-term decisions for our country. And quite frankly, I didn't see that. What I saw was partisanship. What I saw was game playing. What I saw was how do I manipulate things so I can be in a position to be here the next time I am up for election. We now have a government that has almost $23 trillion in debt, $144 trillion in unfunded liabilities. We have an out-of-control bureaucracy that, without being elected to anything, that tells us what to do, when to do, and how to do it. And the real question for our country is who gets to decide? Are we free or are we not free? And we're not free when somebody in Washington who was never elected to a job tells us how we must spend our state money. And they decided that by the rules and regulations they wrote. Congress didn't decide that, which shows another failing of Congress, in that Congress doesn't know enough about the legislation they passed to actually write the rules that they want written for it. So they transfer that to somebody that wasn't elected. The history is all republics have died. You can look at throughout all history. And I think America can cheat history. I don't think we have to die. I don't think we have to lose our freedoms. I don't think we have to go bankrupt with $144 trillion of unfunded liabilities like we have today. My whole goal in joining up with COS is to actually develop a program that is as big as the problem that we face in Washington, and that will actually treat the diseases of the problem rather than the symptoms. And the problem is this: the federal government's out of control. The enumerated powers are meaningless to most people in Congress. That's the constitutional part where it describes what their role is. They routinely ignore it. And consequently, we have millions of federal employees who are not elected to anything, telling state agencies and individual citizens what they'll do, when they'll do it, and how they'll do it. That's not the America I was raised in. That's not the America that'll secure our future. And that's what Convention of States is about: restoring the constitutional principles our founders gave us. And we do that by collecting 34 states to go in for a convention of amendments on 3 issues. Most people know what those are. It's limiting the scope and power of and jurisdiction of the federal government. It's fiscal responsibility on part of the federal government. And it's term limits associated not only with members of Congress, but also appointed officials in the federal government. And if we do that, we can actually save our country. So the question for me is, the rest of my life, will I work to secure the future for the next generation, and do that by promoting a convention of states that will restore the fundamental freedoms that secure our liberty, that secure our future, and secure the next two generations. I don't think that we have a tool other than Article 5 to secure our future. You can hear everybody say, oh, it's dangerous. What is dangerous is not fixing our country when we're given a tool by our founders to fix it. What is dangerous is leaving our children exposed to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars of debt, which they'll never be able to repay, which will cause a marked decrease in standard of living. And everybody who is behind the scenes knows that's going to happen. But it's not taught, it's not talked about, because they don't want to scare people. Just remember, the money that the Federal Reserve printed in 2009, 2010, and 2011 had no material backing to it. And there's still $4 trillion of that out floating around, which ultimately is going to cause severe inflation. There's no inflation now because there's no speed with which money is consumed. The economy is healthy, but it's not that healthy. And so what will happen ultimately is we'll either see marked decrease in standard of living or hyperinflation. And there's no ands, ifs, or buts about that. That's classic economic theory, and we know that's going to happen. So I joined up with the Convention of States because it is the only solution that's big enough for the problems that we have. It will work. Our founders thought long and hard about this, and they knew that at some point in time, our federal government would be out of bounds. And it is. And it's doing things it was never intended to do. And it's taken away liberties that it was never intended to do. So I'm a proud advisor to the Convention of States. I hope you will be too. I hope you will work hard, that you will talk to your state representatives and state senators and encourage them to be part of the solution instead of part of the problem. It's my hope that you'll stay tuned while Rita Dunaway takes you through a detailed analysis of how Article 5 works, how it will be approached, and the situation that we will find ourselves in when we get to a convention and what will happen there. This is Tom Coburn for COS University. Goodbye.